Help support the show by joining the Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Also, hit that like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content.
Okay, so the Browns might be in the market based on the things happening with Quincy Junkins and his current case that he has. We'll see what happens. We'll see if he gets suspended or not, but more than likely, I'm just telling you the odds in this situation from covering football for a while. When somebody gets arrested on charges like Quincy has, regardless of how you feel like on the case, the NFL usually suspends it. So we'll see as more details come out. But the fact that he was arrested is probably going to lead to a suspension at some point. Now, the length of that suspension, Mike Hall got 5 games last year, and I think he spent time on the exempt list. I think he was on the exempt list for most of training camp. So there might be some of that going on as well, too. Mike Hall's situation was a little bit different. There was a firearm that was allegedly involved in that situation where this does not appear to include a weapon of any sort. So maybe it's different, maybe it's not. But the reality is that the Browns are likely going to have to look at other running backs to bring in to fill the void of Quincy Junkins for the potential 5 to 6 weeks that he might miss. So it's worth taking a look at what the free agent market has to offer and who can fill the void of Quincy Junkins. Now, one of the things to keep in mind when trying to do this is it's real easy to look at the running back list, point at the most familiar name and say to yourself, okay, the Browns should get this guy because I know who that is, right? I would avoid that because what the Browns room is, or at least the running back room is, and how the Browns like to structure it and how most teams like to structure it now, is you have multiple running backs with strengths and weaknesses that are complementary to each other, right? If you look at the Cleveland Browns running back room right now, you have Quincy Junkins, who is the every down, first down back, the guy who's going to get you short yardage situation, the sledgehammer of your running back room. Then you have Dylan Sampson, who's supposed to be more of your third down back, right? Do some pass blocking, release into the flat, be a receiver, run out of shotgun every once in a while, right? Like kind of handle those responsibilities. And then you have your explosive playback in Jerome Ford. So that's kind of the general makeup that the Browns are aiming for when it comes to their running back room. That is why names that are familiar, guys who have had decent seasons recently, like, for example, like Amir Abdullah, I don't think makes very much sense for Cleveland, given that he's not really the style of running back that they need to replace right now, right? They need a every down thumper, or at least a early down thumper. Amir Abdullah is more in aligned with what you would want Dylan Sampson to do. Not to say that Amir can't do some north-south stuff, he has, but that's not the main use of him, right? Chase Edmonds is another guy. One guy I do find interesting, I don't think he really fits what the Browns want to do, but he does have experience in this Cleveland Browns running back room, in this Cleveland Browns run scheme, is somebody like D'Ernest Johnson. And that's a name that I've heard be brought up for by a lot of Browns fans since this controversy has popped up. And even before it, because I've been on this channel complaining about not having enough running backs in this roster right now. And now that point is even clearer with this whole situation here. So maybe D'Ernest Johnson makes sense here. The reason it could make sense, despite him not necessarily being exactly what they're looking for, is the familiarity with the system. He has taken the bulk of the carries in multiple games in this system for the Cleveland Browns. Remember when he filled in for Nick Chubb, and was tremendous when he filled in for Nick Chubb. The big concern with D'Ernest is that he's 29 years old. What we're referring to when we're talking about what we liked seeing from D'Ernest was a long time ago, right? That was 2022, really 2021, when he got 124 snaps on the field, 5.3 yards a carry. Like, it's been like 4 years since we've seen that out of D'Ernest. The last 3 seasons have not been productive for him. 32 attempts last year, 143 yards, 41 attempts in 2023, only 108 yards. And then in 2022, his last year in Cleveland, 4 attempts for 17 yards. So whether it's been because the opportunity hasn't been there, like in 2022 with Cleveland, or because he hasn't really been efficient enough with those opportunities like he has in Jacksonville, there has been a perception that there's been a drop in play for Dearness Johnson over the last couple of years. And if you look at his age, he's ticking closer and closer to 30. And that's a big problem, right? Like, that's going to be something that weighs in with the Cleveland Browns. Then you add on top that he's not necessarily the exact type of running back that they're looking for. I think if you look at the free agent names, there's like 2 names that make sense to me. It's going to be interesting to see if the Browns feel like this is the case. They could say, and let me tell you, I would not be a fan of this, but they could say, we got Pierre Strong, and just roll out there with Pierre Strong to start the season. I'm not a fan of that. I don't think Pierre Strong adds what you want from Quincy Junkins or anything close like that. Like, I want them to get somebody who can get positive yards on first down. That's the biggest problem with the running back room outside of Quincy Junkins. Like, maybe you hope that could be Dylan Sampson. But again, I had my qualms about like just straight up hoping Dylan Sampson in year 1 is going to be able to give you over 100 productive carries in his rookie year. I don't think it's a guarantee at all. I think that's far from a guarantee. He's coming, yes, he played in the SEC, but he's coming from the one team in the SEC that has consistently demonstrated that the players on their offense take forever to transition to the NFL. That's the Josh Heupel system. It's not normal to what NFL football looks like. It seems to take these guys a while to make this adjustment. So I was already nervous about like, hey, let's rely on him for more than 100 carries. Now you're telling me, well, we're just going to make up the difference with Dylan Sampson. So we're going to take Dylan Sampson from 100 to 200. That's crazy. I don't think that's a real plan. Like, if that's the Browns' plan, and again, I would be less critical if this position group was less critical to what this team wants to accomplish offensively, right? That's why I'm not that critical about the wide receiver room. The Browns, their passing attack is going to be, how do I get the ball to Jerry Jeudy? How do I get the ball to David Njoku? Sometimes, how do I get the ball to Cedric Tillman? Maybe Deontay Johnson, maybe Harold Fainett. It's not really the focus of the offense. It's not what they've built the entire thing around. So I'm going to be more lenient when I look at the receiving room, right? The pass catchers on this team, because I don't think that's the most critical part of what they're doing. But this run game is the most critical part of what they're trying to do, right? The offensive line is critical, and I feel fine with the offensive line. It's not the most amazing, like, feeling I have in the world about them, but I feel fine. You got veterans there. You're making them do stuff that they've been good at before. Okay, maybe you get a boost out of that. That's not unbelievable. But if you roll into the season and you're like, all right, Dylan Sampson's going to carry the load, you're really just hoping that you get lucky. And that's not a plan to me. Like, even if it works out, it's not going to make me feel good about this organization in long term, right? I need to see a plan. And we'll see what they do. They have a lot of time between now and camp. But I really want to feel like there's a plan there, especially considering that now Quincy is at risk for potentially 5 to 6 games, maybe more, maybe less, but he's going to miss a portion of the season if this is serious, right? And it seems like it is serious. We'll see. But yeah, going in there and just saying we're going to give more carries to Dylan Sampson, that's not a plan to me. That's not a real plan. That's just praying. Saying you're going to get the ball more to Jerome Ford is a bad plan to me because we've seen what he's looked like over 100 carries. It's not been good. He's pretty solid with 100, over 100. It's not good. The Browns are the 2 years that they've ran him like a number 1 running back. The Browns have been last in, no, my bad, not last, first in number of runs ended behind the line of scrimmage. So that's the opposite of what you need and what you drafted Quincy Junkins to do. And then don't even get me started on Pierre Strong, because there's no way Pierre Strong can be a reliable 4 yards on first down guy. He can't stay on his feet in a windstorm. Like he can get blown over by the wind. That's just not going to happen. So what's really the plan, right? There has to be a plan. And there are a couple names where I'm like, okay, you bring this guy in, I get the plan. It may or may not work, right? Deontay Foreman made sense when they signed him. I understood the plan. The plan didn't work because Deontay Foreman wasn't good, right? And I don't think they're going to go to the Deontay Foreman well again, but they could. I don't know. Did Deontay Foreman sign somewhere? I really would doubt it, right? But that was the plan last year with Deontay Foreman, is to make that happen. Yeah, he's still a free agent. He's probably going to be out the league. But they could bring back Deontay Foreman if they don't want to train somebody else, teach them something new. I would not be a fan of it, but at least it would make sense as far as how they want to structure a room. There are two names that make sense here. There's Jamal Williams, who I don't think is very good, but I think a lot of people on the internet like him because he is a pretty fun guy, right? And maybe you want to bring fun vibes into the room. He is a veteran running back. He's not been good his last 2 years in New Orleans is the part that's a concern. But he's fun guy, power running back, big body, can get you first downs, right? On short yardage situations. The other guy is Gus Edwards. Now, Gus Edwards has more injury concerns than you can count. He's been injured very often. I'm not sure, but I think he's coming off an injury, or maybe I'm mixing him up with J.K. Dobbins. But a lot of injury stuff with Gus Edwards during his career. It's the big thing about him. But what we do know about Gus Edwards is that he's 6'1", he's 238, and he's a really good short yardage running back. He's somebody who can punctuate a drive at the goal line and finish a drive at the goal line. Now, how does he work in a wide zone scheme? How many carries realistically can you give him? I don't know. Like, there's probably he's probably a 100 carry guy, but this at least puts you in a place to where instead of taking Jerome Ford from 100 to 200, instead of taking Dylan Sampson from 100 to 200, you're taking Dylan Sampson to 100 to 150. And then you're taking, Jerome Ford from 100 to 150. And then maybe you can give Gus Edwards 100. And then Quincy Junkins will eventually come back, hopefully during the season, and then get those other carries that you need him to get to. Like, if we're just talking about getting through whatever the suspension could potentially be, maybe there's not one, but I think you should still have an extra running back on the roster anyways now, just because you don't know. Gus Edwards makes a ton of sense to bring in as somebody who can fulfill that role because, yeah, he's not going to have breakaway speed. No, you're not going to give him a ton of carries anymore. He's not at that point of his career, but he's exactly what you're looking for as far as skill set goes. And he wasn't abysmal the last time that we saw him play, right? He was still able to fulfill that role, at about a 50% success rate rushing. His career is at a 56.4, so he hasn't dropped off that horrifically. Still a heavy first down guy, still was used for a good amount of carries with the Los Angeles Chargers, about 100 last year. So there's a belief that he can kind of fulfill that role. It won't be the same thing as Quincy Junkins, but you will at least have an option to throw in there in short yardage, because right now your options are awful right now. Like, I would confidently say, and this is not like a good thing, that Dylan Sampson's probably the best short yardage back you got right now, because Jerome Ford's not that. Pierre Strong is absolutely not that. Quincy Junkins is that, but he might be suspended. And then now you have just Dylan Sampson. And I don't think Dylan Sampson's career is going to be short yardage back, right? He's just the only guy I think can be competent at that. I think Gus Edwards can give you that, take some carries away from young players, maybe even add some veteran leadership to the room. Somebody who has been a running back for a long time. He's in his 6th year of the league? It feels like he's been in the league way longer than that. He's 30, but he's basically a rental. And he hasn't shown that he's fallen off completely yet, given what his skill set is. So I think that makes sense. I think Gus Edwards makes the most sense. If there's somebody else that's popping up in your mind that you want the Browns to look at that is actually a free agent, because I don't think they're going to trade for anybody. That's another way that they can do it, is trade for somebody. I doubt that they trade for somebody, because if I'm the Browns, I'm anticipating that at worst this is a 6-game suspension for Quincy. And I'm not going to trade for somebody to fulfill a role for 6 weeks when I've already spent a second-round pick on what I think is the long-term solution at the running back position. So you're probably not going to want to chip away at other assets to try to make up for that. You're going to want to kind of fix this on the cheap. And I think this is the most economic way of being able to solve that. Now, you still got to get interest from Gus Edwards, which I don't think would be too difficult, but maybe he thinks this isn't a fit and he doesn't want to play here. I don't know. But Gus Edwards would be probably one of the guys I look at. Jamal Williams would make sense too. If you want to bring back Deontay Foreman, sure. But man, I don't get it. But I think those are really your best options. If you can bring up one in the comment section below, let me know. But those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.